Hello again, Chris Lee and Jay Greeson to do SEC baseball predictions. We're down a couple men today. Here's the order we're going to go in. We've got 8 weekend series, and so we're going to talk about them in this order, which is the order they're listed on the SEC schedule. LSU at Oklahoma, Ole Miss at Kentucky. Those are your 2 Thursday start series, followed by Vanderbilt at Florida, South Carolina at Mississippi State, Texas A&M at Tennessee, Alabama at Auburn, Georgia at Texas, Missouri at Arkansas. Let's start with LSU, 13 in the RPI, just 1-2 on the road. LSU's played, obviously, most of its games at home. Oklahoma, number 9 in the RPI, 15-1 at home. I think all eyes will be on the Friday night game where you have Cade Anderson against Kyson Witherspoon. From there, both teams have had pitching issues as they go down the rotation, although Cade Anderson has been terrific for LSU. Obviously, the Wofford transfer, too, has been tremendous. That's Zach Cowan. And they've had a couple guys out of the bullpen. From there, the pitching depth drops off. Same thing with Oklahoma. Starting pitching has not been as good, although they've got 3 or 4 bullpen aces. LSU obviously has the edge in power. Oklahoma may be a little bit more suited to play small ball and manufacture some runs that way. Skip Johnson's done a really good job in his first year in the SEC. Jay Greeson, give me your thoughts on the series and give me your picks.
Okay, well, my first thought is, just to be clear, is Anderson Witherspoon, would that be Thursday? Or do you think they're going to move them to Friday with that game starting a day early?
I would presume it's Thursday. And just for the audience's sake, we're doing this Thursday afternoon. We've had some crazy weather stuff across the South. I don't know if that has done anything to push back pitching rotations. I will double-check my email as we're doing this. But last week, LSU went Anderson in game 1, and Oklahoma went – where did it go? Went Kyson Witherspoon in game 1, and his brother Malachi went game 3 with Cade Crossland in between. So that was a rotation switch last weekend. We'll see if that holds or not. But carry on. I will check to see if we've got updated pitching matchups while we're doing this.
Well, I think big picture, this game is an exclamation point of just how awesome this league is this year. I mean, there aren't many, not only leagues, but there aren't many years where a 5-9 matchup is not the highest ranked matchup in the league on the weekend. And it's probably not even the most overall nationally intriguing, which I think goes to Texas A&M Tennessee in the championship rematch. I mean, it's not 2 top 10 teams because of A&M struggles, but in this one, I think I'm gonna blow back a little bit. LSU's Anthony Ianson has been pretty good on weekends. I mean, he's got more than 14 Ks per 9. He went 5 really good innings in a game 2 win against Mississippi State last weekend, striking out 12 in that performance. And let's be real clear. When you're hitting 337 as a team like LSU is, and they're off to their best start since 2013, and this isn't like being off to the best start Missouri's had in 15 years or 12 years. This is LSU. I mean, they're accustomed to being top 10 as the calendar switches from March to April. So only in this league this year, I think, are you a team like LSU who's as good as anybody in the country, but you're a clear number 3 in this league at best.
Yeah. And to be clear, in case I misstated, Ianson's been really good. Cade Anderson's been really good. Cowan, I mean, really good is selling him short. Those guys have all been elite. It's when you get into the bullpen, and Chase Shores on Sunday where they run into problems.
And really, that's until Florida gets completely healthy. It's what we talked about at the beginning of the year.
You mean LSU? Georgia. Oh, never mind. Go ahead. Carry on.
I don't know of anybody until Florida and maybe Tennessee, and we'll talk about them and their big news this week. That Sunday thing is going to be a scratch-off lottery ticket for most of these teams, even as good as they are.
Yeah, for me, you got a few teams that are suited for it with deep bullpens, but other than that, I mean, it's a hitting era and it's a problem.
I think LSU's too balanced. Even if you do give the slight edge to Oklahoma's bullpen, the lineup difference is staggeringly in LSU's favor. I got 3 guys hitting north of 400. I mean, the Cade Anderson, not as good as Kyson Witherspoon, but he's not making any apologies to anybody. And you go from there, and I think you probably have game 2, game 3 edges with your starter. So I'm going to take LSU taking 2 out of 3 on the road, and that's a huge deal in this league this year.
Yeah. I'm a little worried about LSU not having been tested on the road so far. Do I think it's a big deal? No, it's just something to watch. Again, that they are 1-2. But I think LSU's got balance up and down the lineup. Not only is it deep, but they've got a good mix of lefties and righties and switch hitters. Crosland's a lefty. We'll see how they'll handle that. The other guys are righties. I'm going to take LSU because it's a power game. LSU's more suited to that. And if I remember when we had Skip Johnson on before the season, I think he said that place plays as a hitter's park at times. So keep that in mind as you watch this. But anyway, we're both taking LSU in this one. I think the Sooners probably get a game, though. Ole Miss at Kentucky. Ole Miss is number 8 in the RPI, 3-1 on the road. Kentucky 46 in the RPI, 9-5 at home. I think Kentucky has played maybe fewer home games than anybody in the league at home, other than maybe Missouri. That the Cats went to Texas A&M and got a really nice, albeit controversial, road sweep. Ole Miss has been really good. Starting pitching is starting to become a little bit of an issue behind Hunter Elliott. So keep that in mind. Kentucky not flush with dominant arms, but it's deep with guys who can keep the ball on the ground, which is going to come in handy when you play an Ole Miss team that hits a lot of bombs, Jay.
Well, they do, and they're going to have to pitch better. And Ole Miss hits a lot of bombs. They're not the murderer's row that resides in Athens, but they still have a whole bunch of power. Kentucky's going to have to pitch a heck of a lot better this weekend than they did last. And and I think one of the storylines you coined the phrase last week that it could be this last weekend could have been confirmation weekend in terms of what we believe and then what we should believe. I think this one is going to be real interesting on Monday when we review a lot of these things. Guys like Riley Maddox, who has been a regular starter for Ole Miss, but has an ERA north of 7. I mean, you can't keep rolling those guys out. And how many different of these teams after their game 1 guys are now looking at potential changes, because we're going to talk about a team in Auburn that I think absolutely has to be looking at a potential change. But you mentioned it after Hunter Elliott, it's been, you're old enough and a big enough baseball fan to remember the glory saying of the old Braves. It was spawn and sane and pray for rain. Yeah. This is Hunter Elliott and then hunt for somebody to find you 5 outs.
Yeah. Now, Mason Nichols has been fairly good for them. I don't know how much of the 4.82 ERA, which in this day and age college baseball is pretty good, it has been amassed out of conference. They've also got some guys in the pen, Walker Hooks being one of them, who's pitched pretty well. So there are some spare parts there. I'm just not sure there's enough of them, Jay. And Kentucky in that park where they'll bunt and run and do things like that, they are a challenge if you're not ready on your game.
Well, 2 things that I'm keeping a keen eye on this weekend. One, as many mashers as there are in the SEC, I don't know since conference season started if anybody's hitting better than Mitchell Sanford for Ole Miss. He's right at 450 over his last 12 with 7 homers and 17 RBIs in those 12 games. The other thing that I think is really important is I saw this stat today. Ole Miss is 14-2 when they score in the first inning and 19-1 when they score first. This group likes to set the tone and play from the front. Don't let him jump on you early because it's an uphill battle after that.
Yeah, and that might could come in handy on the road where, again, Ole Miss is 3-1. That said, I'm going Kentucky at home. What are you feeling with this one?
I'm going to take the Rebels. I think it's going to be an outstanding environment. I mean, there are a few teams who have completely made the leap and embraced baseball as emphatically as Ole Miss has over the last half decade.
Yeah. Could argue it's the second biggest sport at Ole Miss. Probably would. Now, Chris Beard might be changing that. And meanwhile, Kentucky baseball's been an afterthought. But Hickman Jones making it a bigger thing. So watch that. All right, next series, on to Vanderbilt at Florida. Vanderbilt got swept at home by Arkansas last week, picked up a midweek win. Florida, watched the health report with the pitching. Again, I don't have the probable starters in front of me. That could make a massive difference. Cade Curlin done for the year, I think, for Florida. They've already got, who is it out? Kyle Jones, their center fielder. So Florida's been playing banged up pretty much all year. Having said that, the Gators have still got some power there with Brody Donay, who's cooled off, Bobby Bozer, Colby Sheldon, who's probably due bigger offensive outbursts than he's seen so far. I think 4 or 5 homers as we do this. Anyway, Jay, Vandy, on the other hand, not one of your long ball teams like Kentucky. They will bunt and run. They've got some underrated pitching on the weekend, a deep staff, deep bullpen. I like a lot of their arms. Now, they've moved Chris McIlvain out of the rotation, Ethan McIlvain out of the rotation. But the guy to watch in this series, righty Cody Boker, has been really tough. J.D. Thompson, their headliner, the lefty, has been just okay. He's struggled against better teams. So I've talked a lot. What are you watching between Vanderbilt and Florida?
In terms of Florida, I think it's just a matter of Vanderbilt finding a way to get to that 4 or 5 run number and then trust a pitching staff that Corbin uses very well. And this feels like a series truly that is going to have for a lack of a better phrase, a Tim Corbin game in it. A game where they manufacture a couple of runs in the 6th or 7th inning, and you look up and they stole game 2, 5-4. And I just don't know. Sometimes the mojo leaves and it doesn't come back. I mean, it's impossible to deny that Florida's 1-8. I know 6 of those 8 are against Tennessee and Georgia, and there's no shame in that. But this just feels like a Tim Corbin series to me that you're going to look up and go, Florida's better than Vandy, but he still took 2 of 3.
Yeah. I think this is an interesting one. I do think that the results for Florida got a lot to do with injuries and matchups, but I feel like O'Sullivan's had Corbin's number in Gainesville. That team can play with an edge. It's got his back against the wall. I don't have a strong read on this one. No outcome would surprise me, but I think I'll take Florida 2-1. So you're taking Vandy for the record.
I am.
All right, let's go South Carolina at Mississippi State. South Carolina 36 in the RPI. By the way, Vanderbilt 14 in the RPI, 3-3 on the road. Florida number 19, 16-4 at home. South Carolina is number 36 in the RPI, 2-4 on the road. Mississippi State 56 in the RPI. So Bulldogs moving up just by virtue of playing some good teams. But boy, do the Bulldogs need a win. And South Carolina's starting pitching, just pitching in general, has been taking some hits with injuries. Again, we don't have the matchups as we go into this, but last weekend, State went to Evan Sierra in game 1, Pico Cone, who's their ace and maybe pitcher of the year material in this league. Number 2, Carson Ligon, number 3. Sierra, I think, more of an opener maybe than a starter. We'll see how that goes. For South Carolina last week, they went Jake McCoy to start, Jarvis Evans in game 2. In game 3, TBA, of course, Gamecocks lost all 3 games at home. I'll cut to the chase here on this one. I think Mississippi State's got more firepower in the lineup and more pitching depth too, and is at home. So this one, to me, a pretty easy pick. I'll take State.
You mentioned Florida playing with an edge. This is a game Mississippi State needs. This is a series they desperately need. I mean, we had Graham talking in the midweek about all the chatter is hot seat situations and what would the future look like, because if you're Mississippi State, a true blue blood in this league, and you start falling several notches and Ole Miss is passing you, that's a hard hole to dig out of once you get in it in this league. It's like being mediocre in SEC football in the 2000s. I mean, because there's nothing considered easy anymore.
Yeah.
Now, that said, and you mentioned the Pico pitch game 2, you got to expect him Friday night, because they pitched him in game 2 because that was a Thursday, Friday, Saturday series, and they just want to keep him on his rotation. So I agree with you that I think Mississippi State has got to be the pick, because more than any team in the league, they're only trying to split the weekend.
Yeah.
They're penciling a W on Friday nights and then looking to just split the other two. Another stat I saw, and it kind of explains some of the struggles, the Bulldogs are 4-8 in games decided by 2 runs or fewer. And when you start losing close games like that consistently, you kind of start looking over your shoulder a little bit about, okay, what's going to go wrong next? And I mean, your point's well made about South Carolina and their pitching unknowns. I mean, it doesn't look like Dylan Eskew is going to be back. He's a guy that they need to be part of that weekend rotation, because McCoy's been okay. Evans has been a little hit or miss. And then Matthew Becker started game 3 last week, and it wasn't all that pretty. So I'll take the Bulldogs getting a much-needed series win. And this will be the segment of the show where the SEC's had a whole lot of those dudes through the years. A lot of them have been at LSU. But when you get a chance to watch a college artist like a Pico Cone work, it's so much fun. It's so much fun, because the challenge with these bats and these older hitters and the explosion of offense across college baseball in recent years, a guy who dominates like he does it's not a unicorn, but it is such rarefied air that it's worth the price of admission and pleasurable for me. I mean, I would much rather watch a 3-2 game than a 13-2 game.
Yeah,
12 game.
Yeah, I would too. And you dig into his numbers, and there's nothing flukish about it so far. He's pitched 41 innings, got an ERA of 2.66. He's given up 0.8 runners per 9 innings. That includes hit batsmen, which for some reason we don't count in WHIP, but ought to. Striking out 40% of the hitters and free passes just 6% of the time. He is a kid who's come back from injury and, again, pitched as well as anybody in the league. I think this is a series, too, that there's still a path for the loser. Both of them got to the easier schedules. I'm just not sure South Carolina's got the talent to pull it off. State does. State does not play after Alabama, Alabama next week, which is top half right now. Arguably doesn't play a top half. Well, no, Arkansas is on there. No, sorry, I'm reading Missouri's. Carry on. The schedule gets markedly easier for Mississippi State from this point on. You take this series, especially if you sweep it, you've got a lot of your goals in front of you, but because the schedule is more forgiving than most of the rest. Let's move on next to, where are we going? Texas A&M at Tennessee. And boy, is this a series that is not what we thought it would be when we all circled the schedules before the season.
Absolutely not. I think this is one of those that you were looking at with like a Duke, North Carolina basketball, an Iron Bowl, Michigan, Ohio State football. I mean, everybody had this one circled, even to the point that I think all 3 games are on major networks over the weekend. And that's just because everybody expected this to be, if not 1 versus 2, certainly 2 top 5 teams. And the rematch from last year's dramatic College World Series championship series. So I think before we get directly into this one, I think there are two arcing points here. First one out of Knoxville, A.J. Russell pitched an inning in the midweek. Tennessee rolled as they always do. He threw 11 strikes on 12 pitches. He hit 94 on the gun. Was not super pleased with some of his off-speed stuff, so he went to the bullpen and pitched a little more. Tony Vitale said they're going to probably look for him to pitch again in the midweek next week with a pitch count getting closer to 40 than it was 14 this time. As if the rest of the SEC wanted to hear more good news out of Knoxville. If that lineup gets a bona fide Friday night dude, best of luck with that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, finish your thought. Then I do find some interesting things here because I know the thought is going to be Tennessee will win and probably sweep. But there are a couple things just to circle if this doesn't turn out the way we think that I want to get to.
Well, and there are a couple. I've got two that are game specific. The other one is, does anybody in college sports need a nap more than Trev Alberts right now? I mean, yeah. The Texas A&M athletic director, he's got to go find a replacement for Buzz Williams, who packed up his tent and headed to Maryland in men's basketball. I know it's his first year, and I know he was the hitting coach on some great Texas A&M teams, but you've got to believe there are some unhappy campers about Michael Early's first year in College Station. And all these conversations are only going to magnify as more and more people tune in for a series of this magnitude.
Yeah. When we have a series that is on paper, a lopsided pick, where my head always goes is the value in this is let's find some things that maybe aren't major talking points that, again, if this doesn't turn out the way we think, we'll go and circle these things as maybe reasons why. First of all, A&M, this is a spot where they could just pack it in. I mean, you've got that is one angle that I've kind of been watching. The other angle is they got a lot of guys that are playing for money in terms of draft position and things like that. I'll get to a couple guys in a minute. But A&M did win the opener last week and then fell in a couple of heartbreakers. We all know about the run rule. And then came out and just smashed Incarnate Word, which isn't very good, but did score 21 runs. That was a season high. So if you're looking for signs that maybe the hitting, which has been an issue, is coming alive, I don't know what stock to put into blasting Incarnate Word, but I'm just going to put that as a footnote. Here's what really catches my eye, though, with this series. A&M starters, Justin Lampkin, Ryan Prager, Miles Patton, all of whom could end up being major league pitchers. Now, maybe not aces. They might be fourth and fifth starters. Prager's probably got a little better upside than that. But these are really talented pitchers who throw a lot of strikes, which of course, sometimes can be a problem when you're playing Tennessee. But Prager was your preseason National Pitcher of the Year. All of them lefties. Let's look at the Tennessee lineup. Lefties in that lineup. Reese Chapman, Andrew Fisher, Cannon Peebles, although he's a switch hitter, so that doesn't really apply. Gavin Keelan, Dalton Bargo, Jay Abernathy, all lefties. Now, I don't have the splits there, and the counterpoint would be Dean Curley, Hunter Inslee are righties, and they've also got a bunch of righties on the bench, Levi Clark, Manny Marin, Stone Lawless, Chris Newsom, all those guys. Tennessee's got a lot of depth where they can mix, can match. But the guys that are getting the most plate appearances are predominantly lefty. So keep that circled. That said, I will take Tennessee, but I would not be completely blown away if A&M got a game here just because of the matchups and the circumstances.
Well, and you mentioned the pitchers and all of them being left-handed. And you're right, Incarnate Word is, in a word, mediocre at best, even though that's 3 words. My Auburn education serving me well. Here's somebody else who's starting to get healthy or starting to get right. Chase LaViolette hit 2 homers. He set the Texas A&M program career home run mark in the blasting of Incarnate Word. But that guy's now getting close to 300. And after the terrible start he had, he's starting to swing it. And we saw in stretches last year, that guy can carry an offense when he gets hot.
Yeah.
And now, can he carry it against a absolute juggernaut like the Vols? I don't know. I would have a whole lot more support for your theory about A&M getting right and being if this was in College Station. I can't pick against Tennessee and Knoxville. I just can't.
Yeah.
And I don't even think I'd pick it against – I don't even think I'd pick Arkansas or Georgia to win a series in Knoxville.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to pick a 1-8 Texas A&M crew. But anybody in Orange who thinks this is going to be a steamrolling, I do agree with your logic on how this – I can see this being a heck of a lot more competitive. And I hadn't thought of it, but you're 100% right. There are a whole lot of those dudes who, even if this season completely implodes, they've got a whole lot invested in the name on the back of the jersey as much as they do in the name on the front.
Yeah, I mean, Prager was a kid who turned down nearly $1 million or so. Might have been more than that to come back. Laviolette was the number one pick in the country preseason, according to most draft rankings. He's fallen. I looked, MLB Pipeline had him at 12. So that's a lot of difference in money in where you're drafted. And I do wonder this, too, in case we look back and say this was the shocking series of the weekend. Tennessee fans are going to be on them from start to finish of that series. And sometimes you wonder if a team like that that's underachieving just maybe needs to get a little bit pissed off. I think these are huge dart throws, and again, very unlikely. But if you're looking for an angle where this series is interesting, I would circle that.
And Michael Early needs to take Crash Davis's advice and realize they're kids. Scare them. I mean, It's time for the 8-16 locker room speech and call them lollygaggers and whatever else you can think of, because something needs to light a fire in College Station, or Trev Alberts will be taking resumes for more than men's basketball.
Yeah, and two more problems for A&M. The Aggies 3-7 on the road and 110 in the RPI. Now, you beat Tennessee on the road, you start making up some RPI points quickly. Vols are number 2 in the RPI, 19-1 at home. Next one, Auburn and Alabama. Auburn hosting this one. We'll have more information. Lindsey Crosby's going to join me Thursday afternoon as we'll break down Auburn baseball and preview the series. Alabama 5-0 on the road. That's the best road mark in the league, I think. Auburn 22 in the RPI, Alabama 7. Auburn 13-4 at home. Ike Irish is back. He's hitting. Auburn did lose a midweek. Alabama won its. What are you looking for in Auburn and Alabama?
Well, the first thing I'm looking for is just how crazy the environment's going to be, especially Friday night. The ballpark's sold out. It is you can get general admission tickets still, but there aren't many that if you wanted to sit down, you're going to be able to get into the building. I think Auburn has been satisfied. I'm not going to say dazzled with their Friday starter. But the big thing I'm looking for is to see how Butch Thompson uses Carson Myers this weekend. Carson Myers was electric coming out of the bullpen in an emergency situation on Saturday in Athens. Pitched 4 2/3, struck out a career high. I think he struck out 10 in a row at one point. And in 12 innings so far, he's allowed all of 7 hits with 18 Ks and a walk. So if he's building up some ability to go into the 4th, 5th, 6th inning, I'll be shocked if he's not getting the ball one of these games this weekend. I have not seen Auburn or even Alabama's projected rotation for that matter, but what Carson Myers did against what we all believe to be the best lineup in college baseball against Georgia in a game that Georgia walked off in extras and kind of wasted his performance. Carson Myers was awesome.
Yeah, Auburn's got a bunch of old bullpen arms. I was doing a deep dive into the internet while you were talking, because there's one other thing. I kind of buried the lead a little bit. I'm watching to see does Riley Quick pitch this weekend. There's no updates. Again, we don't have the weekend rotations as we're doing this. There's no news update for Quick. He's a kid who's getting some first round buzz potentially for the draft. He's a stud. Their rotation's been pretty good. Zane Adams is super talented. Bobby Alcock's been pretty decent in that number 2 role for Alabama. That's who they threw last weekend. If Quick's in there, that could be a series swinger. For Auburn last weekend, they went Sam Dutton, who's been terrific on Friday night, one of the more underrated pitchers in the league, and Cade Fisher, who's been hit and miss, the Florida transfer, then TBA. The Irish factor, I think, looms big here. I'm going to take Alabama on the road in this one, Jay, just because I think maybe a little bit more stock in the lineup. I'm not sure, and maybe if Quick pitches, that could be a series changer. At 5-0 on the road's pretty loud. I don't have a great read on this series, and probably too many variables with Quick as we're doing this to feel a lot of confidence. But I'll take a chance and pick a road winner here. What are you thinking?
Well, it's hard to argue with that because a couple things, and the Riley Quick question mark certainly is looms large, but Alfred's not here to sing Justin LeBron's praises, so I feel contractually obligated to mention that yet again he'll be the best player on the field. So. And it's funny how the ball finds you. And so last week in the one game Oklahoma held on against Alabama, you find LeBron up there with the go-ahead run at second, and he has like a 15 pitch at bat and draws a walk. Now Oklahoma's closer wiggled out of that one and got the save, but those bell cow stars, it's like Wednesday night when Shohei Ohtani walked to the plate in a tie game in the 9th, you knew it was over. Those bell cow dudes just have ways of coming to the plate in meaningful moments and swinging baseball games. I think Alabama, other than Dutton, I think Alabama's got a pitching advantage as well. So atmosphere, and as much as it pains me to do it, I'll take Alabama on the road as well.
Yeah, and searching the Twitterverse as we're doing this, I don't see any late updates on Riley Quick. So we're doing this around lunchtime Thursday afternoon, just in case this changes and you got news. Just keep that in mind. This is what we've got as we do this. Okay, next up, Georgia at Texas. This one's fascinating. Georgia 3 in the RPI, also 6-1 on the road. Texas 11th in the RPI, 15-3 at home. One of those losses coming midweek to Texas State. It is bombs away with Georgia. I think the top home run hitting team in the country. Texas is really solid 7 or 8 pitching wise. The lineup's been good, but also without Max Blue for the rest of the regular season, who is their best player. What are you watching in this one, Jay?
I will be, sadly, it's only going to be on the interwebs. It's funny. I think if you probably polled some of the ESPNU folks or the SEC Network folks who are beating feet to Knoxville for what on paper looked like was going to be just an absolute Donnybrook, they might want to change travel plans if at all possible to go to Georgia, Texas. Because every time a Georgia hitter comes up, Georgia's team OPS is north of 1,000. That just is mind-boggling to me. And Texas, playing the schedule they have, has got an ERA in college baseball just north of 3 with 239 Ks this year. Our boy Graham has reused one of his favorite coaches' cliches of style makes fights. Well, this is strength on strength. And Texas has just been relentless, whether it's the starters, whether it's the long relievers, or even the back end. Their pitching has been tremendous. Now, Georgia's got a whole bunch of dudes that make it real hard to get through that lineup even more than once. But Georgia's hitters against Texas A&M's pitchers are easily the most intriguing matchup of the weekend for me.
Yeah, last weekend, Texas went Jared Spencer, who's been terrific in Game 1, Luke Harrison in Game 2, TBA Game 3. Georgia went with lefty Charlie Goldstein, who's more an opener than a starter. Brian Curley, their closer, who's now their number 2 guy, and Leighton Finley, the righty, who's not been as good as I thought he would be. Look, here's an interesting stat with Texas. Home run rate around 3.5%, which isn't terrible this day and age of college baseball. But Georgia's hit, 84 home runs? The pitching is questionable, but I just think they can maybe get into Texas's bullpen potentially. I think Spencer's the key here. Like, if he goes 7 or 8 on Friday night, then Texas, your chance to win the series, provided they win that game and get him through a lot of innings, I think goes up markedly. And I say this, Texas is probably going to be the favorite, but I look on paper and I just worry. Spencer, Rojas, Grubbs, Volantis, Cade Bing, Flores, Andre Duplantier are kind of their guys that have been their dudes. Harrison's in that number 2 spot. ERA's 2.12. I don't really trust that if I look at the underlying metrics. So I think the question is, how deep do they get in their pen, and can Texas have Duplantier or Flores or somebody really give them long relief? Volantis, another candidate. I don't know. Gut feeling, this turns into a bomb fest, and Georgia usually wins those. Plus, Georgia's pretty good on the road, as we've established. I'm going to take the Bulldogs here, Jay.
I'm with you. I think Georgia is just a step behind Tennessee, and that's because of pitching, but they don't have to apologize to anybody. And some of those pitching numbers are also, just to be truthful, Texas has played 3 SEC weekend series, and 2 of them were against Mississippi State and Missouri.
Yeah.
And neither of those teams, I don't know if maybe the Hines kid, neither one of those teams collectively probably have 2 hitters that are going to crack Georgia's order. So this is a much taller task for a Texas pitching staff, which has been very good. I will take Georgia to take 2 of 3, but I think your analysis about getting as many innings as possible to save as many arms for the weekend, especially for what Sunday always seems to be or that Game 3 always seems to be for Georgia, is that you're going to have to get the 10 runs to feel good about it. I think that Friday night is critical, not only in terms of the W, but in terms of a very quality start.
Yeah, and let's give Texas its due here. They do have a few guys that I think would crack the lineup. J.M. Flores would be one. I think Ryan Galvin, the way he's been hitting, would be another one that would.
Well, I think
Georgia.
Texas does.
Yeah.
I was referring to Mississippi State and Missouri.
Oh, okay. I see what you. Oh, gotcha. Yeah. What you're saying is they face some of the lower in lineups.
Texas pitchers have pitched 6 SEC games against. I don't know how many of those cats are going to displace some of these Georgia hitters.
Yeah, gotcha. You were going somewhere different than I thought. My apologies. In Texas's schedule so far, let's see where they rank in terms of RPI. I don't always trust RPI. Strength of schedule nationally has been, 80 and 226 non-conference. So fair point there. That might have been built against some lineups that are not what they're going to see. I still think they're a really good team, but I think we both like Georgia in this one. All right, last one. We try to make a case for stuff being interesting. Missouri at Arkansas. Missouri's 0-4 on the road, 186 in the RPI. Arkansas is number 1 in the RPI, 19-1 at home. Missouri is capable of hitting enough that if you're a little bit off to give you a challenge for a game. But who are we kidding here? Arkansas is on a roll after going to Vanderbilt last week and sweeping the series at a place where Vanderbilt has won every home game so far. I just can't see this as a matchup that favors Missouri in any way. And I think, too, if you're one of these contenders, and here's the other little storyline of this, we got a jumbled bunch of teams at the top of the SEC standings. You got Georgia, Tennessee, Arkansas, Texas, all tied with one loss at 8-1. I think default, if you're saying who's in the best shape to come out on top or at least tied for the SEC lead after this weekend, it's Arkansas based on that schedule.
Completely agree. And I would have, on the level of surprise for Missouri to win one of these three in Fayetteville, would have been the type of upset of like Commodus beating Maximus in Gladiator. It's just not going to happen. I mean, there's no way you can talk yourself into believing. I mean, I don't even know. The Vegas odds would probably be staggering. You'd probably get even money on a sweep.
Yeah. If not better. Yeah. I mean, who we kidding? We're taking the Hogs. Jane, unless you got final thoughts, I think that's about it. Additional note with Missouri, 0-9, whatever the worst record in the 30-game league schedule is, that they're on watch there.
Yeah, they are.
By the way, I've never seen standings like this 3 weekends in the year. You've got 4 teams at 8-1. You got 4 teams at 1-8, and Missouri at 0-9. I mean, there is clearly an upper
the bell curve so inverted where you've got so much population at the top and at the bottom, and the middle. I mean, is to your point and what we talked about on 30 conference games. So the race to 15 is you got to start breaking out the abacus. And it also, to your point, you need to maximize every chance you get against Missouri and every home game that you get against middle-of-the-road league teams. Now, the middle-of-the-road league teams can still get you, but you need to make certain Mississippi State or South Carolina is not leaving your ballpark with 2 of 3.
Absolutely. We'll be here to wrap it up when the weekend's over. I'm not sure if we'll do a Friday night reaction or not. We will certainly do a weekend reaction, I think, when it's done, and when we'll have power rankings on Monday. Best way to get all that, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, enable your notifications. Tell a friend. We're here to cover SEC baseball all year. For Jay Greeson, I'm Chris Lee. You've been watching Southeastern 16's baseball coverage.